Hello. Hi everybody. I haven't used this thing in a little the streaming thing in a little while, and I'm like, this is my right hand, this is my left hand, and I'm used to being mirrored, so it's when I film on my phone or
Dude, it's been 30 seconds and you're already confused.
Yeah. Hi everybody. Welcome to Eclectic Witchcraft 101. Woo! I'm like already out of practice. It hasn't even been that long. Peggy's got to mute her computer.
I don't want to.
You have to. We're echoed. I have a decaf coffee because I've already had 2 coffees today. Don't glare at me. I would have had tea, but I had no time. So go make a coffee. Peggy's whiny.
I'm whiny.
Hello. Hi, everybody in the room. Okay, let me see who's here. And my eyes are not fixed. What was I going to say? Oh, I haven't zoomed up that's what I was trying to say. I haven't zoomed in my chat so I can actually see it properly. Let's see. I see Raven and Vicky and Chanda and Lucy. Hi, Priestess Illumination. Hi, Marion. Hi, Brenda. There's so many people in here. Hi, Amy and Lennon. I know it's been like 2 weeks. Hi, Kelby. And
oh, yeah, you missed last week, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. And Zane and Lucy. I might have said Lucy already. And Tonya. Did I say that right? Let me know if not. Hi, Doug. Lily and Victoria. Did I get everybody? I don't know. I might have missed somebody. If I have, I'm very sorry. But yeah, decaf coffee was what I wanted. I was thinking about doing tea, but I ran out of time. Hi, Katie. Shadows Truth. Peggy's gonna. Oh, my thing says we're gonna start shortly, but we've actually started already, so I gotta fix that. I have to fix it. Oh, I can do this one. Woo! I like pushing buttons. It's fun times. We are going to be talking about Sabbats and the Wheel of the Year and all of that good stuff today. I have notes because, to be honest, you guys, Sabbats is something that is kind of like in my practice light, for what that's worth. Hello, Angela. So I am going to be approaching this from the perspective of somebody who practices the Sabbats here and there, kind of light. Like I said, light. I'm Sabbat light. So I have lots of reference notes and stuff so we can chat about the Wheel of the Year and just sort of how everything ties together. But yeah, I'm kind of hit or miss. Some Sabbats I like more than others. I definitely play favorites. So we'll be diving into all of that.
Tell all the other Sabbats what you said.
Peggy said she's going to tell all the other Sabbats what I said. Sabbats are holidays. You know that.
Yes,
you know that. Okay. I was like, I said it and then I was like, she knows this. She's just teasing me. Who's abstract? I missed it. This decaf coffee's kind of gross. What are you drinking?
Decaf?
It's gross.
No, it's not.
It does. It tastes totally gross.
You just don't like it because it doesn't taste like caffeine?
No, I don't like it because it's objectively disgusting. How do you...
Try the creamer you put in it.
No, it's not. My creamer tastes good in good coffee. We're just going to bicker on live now. That's what we're going to do. This does not taste very good.
Let the bitching begin.
It really doesn't taste very good.
Aww.
Do you want mine? No, you can't. It's got creamer in it.
I'm already making one.
Oh, you're abstract with... Oh, I get you. Okay. Oh, so, Katie's going to make some hot chocolate light. There's only your shoulder, only your shoulders on the screen. You should like put your face.
My butt's here too.
She's waggling her butt. Great.
Try not to fall down.
Yeah, don't fall down.
I was gonna ask you if you wanted me to make you a cup of tea.
Yes, please.
So what was that about? Screw you, make your own coffee.
I don't think did I say screw you? I don't think I did.
I said, oh, you have a coffee. I would have liked a coffee, and you went, screw you, make your own.
Did I actually? Guys,
something like that. I don't know. I was too busy laughing at you.
Okay, can I have buttermint tea with vanilla creamer, please? And don't make me drink this swill. Thank you. Thank you.
Here. Buttermint tea with
vanilla creamer. Yeah. Okay, sorry, we're getting my beverage situation sorted out. Hi, Green Eyed Tarot. Welcome to the live. Hello, Sapphire. Yeah, too much talk of coffee. Hi, Kay. I totally watch YouTube in the tub. I don't think I've watched a live YouTube in the tub, but I regularly watch YouTube when I'm having a bath. And Lennon has chocolate cupcakes, and now I'm super jealous. But yeah, Peggy's making me a buttermint tea so that I can have something that doesn't taste gross. That decaf was disgusting. I never drink it.
I'm jealous.
Lennon has chocolate.
I'm jealous.
Okay, so guys, I have my Llewellyn Sabbat Almanac here, which we're going to be looking at. I've got all the Sabbat days, the Sabbats marked. I've also got some handy visual aids I printed off the internet, just for reference, and some other little bits. But I am excited to dive into this, especially because I really want to hear from you guys as we go through the Sabbats, like what Sabbats you sort of get or don't get or feel drawn to or don't feel drawn to, like what you do for them. So this is gonna be good. I'm making everybody want coffee. That's hilarious. Angela's having peach ginger green tea. That sounds amazing. I love peach and tea together. Hot, cold. I even have a peach. Are you having a hard time finding the buttermint? It's like the main one in the box that's open, that's cut. It's like in bags.
That one?
No, it's in a long box. Yeah, one of those. One of those has buttermint in it.
The one that says.
Look behind that.
Lemon balm?
Oh.
Oh. Was it shy?
Hold on. We're having a tea emergency. Okay, so there's
Moroccan style mint.
There's no, I don't want Moroccan style mint. Okay, one of the bags from this fancy tea place that we went to, the afternoon tea, one of the white bags that you were shoving around. Yeah. What's that one?
Buckingham Palace tea?
Not that one. What's the other one?
Oh my god. Secret Garden.
That one. I'll have that one with vanilla. Thank you. You're the best. I have backup buttermint tea, but it's in the back, and I'm already like pushing my luck here with Peggy making my tea. So, okay, so you only heard about buttermint today, Sapphire?
You don't want that?
That's buttermint. Yes, I want that. Thank you. Sorry, I could have told you that. I forgot to tell you that it was not called buttermint. It's called peppermint creamy. What's it called? Let me show it on the channel here.
It's called my wife.
This is the one you get in Canada. It's not called buttermint. It's actually called what's it called? Peppermint and creamy vanilla. This is the one, and I get it on Amazon. I swear we're gonna get into the topic, but yeah, I found out about it. I think originally on Facebook.
Okay,
sorry.
It.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Peggy's
gonna make me one of those. That with vanilla creamer is really delicious.
I'm starting to regret offering because now I can't see the opening.
It's on the side.
I am gonna just.
It's on the short. Gosh, you found it. Good job. Okay.
So your water's almost boiled, and I'm still trying to get the tea bag.
The thing about buttermint tea, if you like peppermint tea, is that it's like a really delicious, creamy vanilla mint. But when you add, like I do, French vanilla creamer to it, it's like extra creamy, minty deliciousness.
So basically, what are you gonna ask me to be? This is why I'm mean to her.
This is why I need to do the tarot. There's a hashtag going around called Tarot Tats and Tea. Ooh, I may need to do that one.
It's the right one, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the right one.
Okay.
I may need to do a live VR to that. Maybe. We'll see. Because it's really fun. And talking about tarot, tattoos, and tea is right up my alley. If you haven't seen that hashtag, check it out. Today I watched Robin at Toadstool Tarot's VR to it. It was originally created by, I'm going to mess up her channel name, so I'm not going to guess. If you look up that hashtag, you'll find the original creator. I recently discovered her channel, and it's really good. Anyway, okay. Whew. I am like, let's corral this in. We're 10 minutes in, and I have made no progress. Oh, Angela says, I just ordered a bunch of tea today. If it's not Tarot decks, it's something I'm buying because of you. I'm sorry, you're welcome. What's that?
So you owe the internet.
I owe the internet an apology. I do show lots of pretty things. Okay, so let's dive into the Wheel of the Year, and I would like to go in like chronological order because I'm me, and Lennon, it's Tarot, Tats, and Tea. In fact, I can tell you exactly. But I don't know if the and is an ampersand or if it's like the word and, but I'll tell you because I actually keep a private playlist for myself of VRs I want to do, which is always way too long and I never get to like half of them. Oh, you are amazing and I love you. Hi, puppy. Thank you. She brought me tea. I'm just checking that hashtag. Yes, hashtag Tarot, Tats, and Tea. Let me just type it in. And tea, and it's Elaine Murphy who started it. Since I searched it up. Anyway, there hasn't been a lot of VRs to it yet. It's definitely one I want to do. So yeah.
That was a lot of work just for me to get a decaf.
What did you do with my decaf? Did you pour it down the sink?
Well, I already had, yeah, this one was
Peggy can't have mine because mine's got too much sugar.
Well, no, mine was already halfway done when you announced that yours was swill.
Oh, hi, Moira. Yours was halfway done when I announced mine was swill. Is that what you said?
Yeah. The machine was already running.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. What I want to know about the Sabbats is one is upside down. What do you mean, Gracia? I'm not sure if I know what you mean. I do know that, and I'm going to be really bad at this. So is anybody here in the Southern Hemisphere? I'm doubtful because of the time of day, I think. It might be hard for the Southern Hemisphere. But if anybody is in the Southern Hemisphere, the Sabbats get a little twisty because the Sabbats, the Wheel of the Year is based on the harvest cycle or on the natural cycle of planting and harvesting and such. Yes. So, for example, when we are celebrating our spring equinox, which is when day and night are in equal balance at springtime, in the Southern Hemisphere, they're actually practicing or honoring the fall equinox because they're moving into the dark half of the year. Ah, perfect, Gracia. Yeah, so they're reverse. So we'll talk about that. I'll do my best as we go through. So the time of year, like, so for example, our spring equinox is usually around the end of March, which is the autumnal equinox for the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah. Peggy is a good wife, and she apparently knows it. Yes, it's true. She's literally over there like, me? Are you coming over to gloat?
No,
are you hobbling to the bathroom?
I'm hobbling to the bathroom.
Peggy's a little hobbly today. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to this book to chat about some ideas and things for Sabbats, but let's talk about like just the Wheel of the Year in general. Based on my understanding, which please keep in mind that me and the Sabbats, we got like a loosey-goosey kind of relationship. One of the things that I think is really, really interesting. Oh, you could have people from the Southern Hemisphere in your same time zone. That's an excellent point, Lucy. I hadn't really thought of that. But also geography, not a strong suit. Ask Peggy. It's actually embarrassing at times.
What, geography?
My geography knowledge. See? Like literally, I can't remember what the last ridiculous thing I said about geography was, but it was real. Like I say the dumbest thing. Was that it? Oh yeah, I think that might have been it. I didn't know the UK was an island. Yeah, you're right. That was it. Was it England or the UK in a whole?
I forget.
Must be England that's the island.
That was the most obvious one.
There's lots of them though. Like you guys, some of the dumb stuff I say about geography is like it is embarrassing actually.
Well, like, can you give
so it's Thursday 10:45 a.m. right now for Vicky, who's in the Southern Hemisphere. Oh, sorry about your sciatica, Marianne. Okay, so let's start with Samhain because that's one of my favorites, and I'll probably have lots of things to say. So Samhain is often called the Witch's New Year. And why is that? Why is that? Does anybody know why that is? Because I have it in my head that it's the Witch's New Year, but now that I'm sitting and thinking about it, I was like, oh, this is no problem. It's my favorite Sabbath. It's going to be easy. No problem. But why? Because I know that at Samhain, we note the death of the god.
I used to call Samhain, right?
Yes, because it's spelled Samhain. It's pronounced Samhain, or something along those lines. There are slightly different pronunciations depending on where you are. So, does anybody know why it's called the Witch's New Year? Because my notes. Let's just refer to my notes so that I don't sound like a total. Yes. This is like the last little vestiges. It's actually after the last harvest, after the third harvest. This is when everything's being everybody's getting ready for the dark half of the year. So it kind of marks the end of the year. Hi, Dustin. So Samhain is where we tend to honor ancestors. This is the time when we honor like death and death rituals, where some of the common practices, and again, please anybody correct me at any time, I will not be the least bit offended. Because again, my relationship with the Sabbats has always been kind of personal and I kind of just do what feels right at that time of the year. But Samhain is when you might have for example, a ritual called the Dumb Supper, where you have a silent dinner and you set a place setting for your ancestors. You just had a moment.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking you being silent.
You being silent.
No.
Exactly. Anyway, I really need to apparently have a dumb supper so we can see if either Peggy and I can stop talking long enough. But anyway, the idea is that you have a silent supper, and at that meal, you have place settings set for your ancestors or for the dead who you want to welcome there. And the idea is that the silence through the meal to allow them to attend this meal, it's a symbolic gesture of honoring the dead. I tend to do any and ancestor work for me has been something that's been really tricky. I've talked about this recently, but last Samhain or the Samhain before, I think it was last Samhain. It might have been the Samhain before. Anyway, I recently talked about this. There's a video on my channel called Redefining Ancestor Work or Ancestor Magic, where I kind of had a breakthrough about working with ancestors. But that is the time of year I tend to do that. Samhain is also, because it's like our biggest Sabbath that has to do with death and dying, anything to do with like energetically needing something to die or put it to bed or grieve it or acknowledge that a loss, that's a good time to do that. Yeah, the dumb supper. Yeah. Samhain, we all know Halloween, right? So Samhain is typically honored at around the same time. So depending on whether you're observing the Sabbats astrologically, and some traditions or some people will have, say, I'm going to be so bad at this. So in the Sisterhood of Avalon, we honored Kalangaya, which was when the first full moon, I'm not going to be able to repeat it, but it was like, usually it was around the first or second week of November, sometimes a little sooner. And that was like astrological Samhain. I tend to practice on the calendar days in my eclectic practice, in which case Samhain is October 31st. That is like Samhain Eve, and then Samhain being November 1st. Katie says our chosen deceased family, that's a cool practice. Yes, Katie. So that's kind of in line with what I talk about in that video is when I do ancestor work now, if I do it, excuse me, and it's very infrequent, I tend to use invoking words that say things like ancestors that only have my best interest at heart, spiritual ancestors, not necessarily only blood relatives. Like I open it up to spiritual heritage, to energetic heritage, that sort of thing. Marion also says it's when the veil is at its thinnest, which is why we leave a space at the table for them. Yes. And interestingly, there's a lot of folklore around this, around Halloween. The whole practice of candles in the window, jack-o'-lanterns and things like that had to do with, depending on which piece you're talking about, or which tradition you're talking about. So I'm going to be really bad at this. The candles in the windows, was that Yule? Okay, anyways, costumes were so that you wouldn't get like scooped up by spirits that might be walking around at the same time. So it was basically a disguise to protect the children, to protect from the spirits that were actually believed to be walking around when the veil was thin. And just a side note, when we talk about the veil being thin, we're talking about the veil between the worlds. So the veil between the mundane world and the spirit world. So when we talk about the veil being thin, Samhain is an excellent time, because the veil is thin, to do anything that involves connecting with that other realm, connecting with the spirit realm. So this could be divination. I tend to do a lot of divination around that time of the year. Scrying, it's an excellent time to do scrying. Past life work, connecting with the collective unconscious, depending on your belief system, diving into those kinds of like dark practice. I mean dark as in it's usually dark outside, not dark as in bad, or evil or anything, but those kinds of like quiet practices that connect you to that spirit realm. Yes. Shadow's truth. That's what I was going to say. And then I doubted myself. So was the candle so spirit could find their way home? I think so. And I think I was getting mixed up, because I think there was a practice of candles in the window to help guide spirits home that you wanted to be able to find you. And then jack-o'-lanterns, I think, were actually to scare the bad spirits away. And I couldn't remember if the candle in the window thing was a Yule practice or a Samhain practice. So a couple people chiming in about the new year. According to the Celts, darkness is before light. It makes sense that Samhain is like sort of the end of the year, which means that on November 1st or after Samhain Eve, you would have the heralding of the new year. And it gets a little messy for me energetically, because for me, Yule is when the sun is reborn, and it feels very fresh and new as well. So to me, in a way, how it reflects in my practice is I sort of see Samhain as when everything gets put to bed and dealt with and released and worked through. And then Yule is when you start to move into the new year. So for me, that's how I move through those two Sabbats, it's sort of in conjunction with one another. Oh, Shadow's Truth, did I get it right? That's amazing. Okay, cool. So I wanted to share a few bits with you I have. So Samhain is officially calendar day wise the 1st of November, and then October 31st, which is what we see as Halloween or All Hallows Eve, is Samhain Eve, so the night before. So that's when you kind of have that transition from Samhain Eve to Samhain. And we'll see that sort of theme repeated at Yule time. I think we see a similar theme around midsummer as well, so we'll talk about that. So Samhain, starting with Samhain, is when we sort of put the previous year to bed and we welcome the new year. So that's sort of the traditional. But there's so many different pieces from each Sabbat that you can like lean into depending on what your personal interests are. So I'd be curious to hear, if you work with the Sabbats, what are your like main things that you really look forward to or you enjoy doing around Samhain time? I'm going to maybe share a couple tidbits from this book from Samhain, and I don't think there was anything else on here notes-wise that I wanted to share. When you're looking at the symbology of the triple goddess, Samhain is when the goddess is in her crone stage. So if that's a type of mythology or way of looking at goddess or that you enjoy, then Samhain time is crone time. But I'd be curious about your guys' thoughts on or practices around Samhain time. And then I'm going to look up and see if there's anything I wanted to share from here. Well, I keep an eye on chat, and hopefully.
Did you catch KDH's question? Is spirit realm different than astral?
Oh, yes. No, I didn't catch it. Thank you. Is spirit realm different than astral? How would I answer that? So for me, I view the astral as sort of a level up. I would say no. To me, I would see astral as kind of between our realm and spirit realm. So I would see the astral plane as a place where I can access. So if you were to think of it as like a ladder, right? Then higher up on the ladder would be the spirit realm. Lower down on the ladder would be our earthly realm. And then it would be kind of like the middle realm is sort of how I would see it, because spirit can come into it, can come down into it, and we can go up into it. It's not linear like that, but that's the best way I can think of to express it, because when I go to the astral, I don't see myself walking around among my beloved dead, but I also have had a guide meet me on the astral who is a beloved dead, a beloved ancestor. Does Samhain equate to the dark moon in any way? I think so. So if you were to associate, we could do that as we talk about this a little bit. If you were to associate Samhain with the moon cycles, I would absolutely associate it directly with the dark moon. And I would associate Yule with the very first sliver, the crescent moon. I don't know if that's an official thing, but when we think about the cycles of the moon and how we work with the moon energetically, which we'll have a whole talk about that too, it would make sense that that full dark, that sort of season of like releasing and working in that depth, for sure associates with Samhain. Yeah, Lennon says it's similar. Yeah, I think of the astral as a net covering our world, like Lisa stepped below spirit. Yeah. That's exactly kind of how I see it. Sorry, there was a fruit fly. Shadow's Truth says, I set a place setting to honor ancestors. I use crystals, amethyst, carnelian, driftwood, obsidian. Ooh, yeah, I love working with dark crystals at Samhain. So I have a silver sheen obsidian that I like working with. Obsidian in general, scrying, wonderful. I tend to do a lot of cauldron work at Samhain. I almost always burn stuff in my cauldron, stuff I need to release, that sort of thing. Let's see. There was another comment about, oh yeah, Lennon said some stuff that, so ancestor veneration, crone work, yes. Scrying, mortality work, yes. Your own work around death and dying is really good at that time of year as well. Dustin, pyro. I am totally a witchy pyro in my practice. That's anyway. So let's see. So there's some things in here. So this is, I've mentioned this before on the channel. The Sabbats Almanac comes out by Llewellyn every year. I don't know when they started creating this, but I only discovered it at the end of 2019. What's really great is that it gives you the dates for the actual current year's Sabbats. I am not going to burn the house down. I practice fire safety if you burn things in your cauldron. Angela says, I do and will continue to do spirit and ancestor divination. I did a Samhain tarot reading early that morning last year that predicted the end of the time with my dog. He died later that day. That's really tough. That's really, really tough. but in a way, it sounds like it was probably sort of supportive to be able to prepare yourself, perhaps a little bit, or I don't know. So, to me, I feel like it would almost add to the difficulty in a way. That must have been really, really hard. I'm umming a lot in this one, and I'm really sorry. Okay, so just to quickly buzz you through what's in this book for Samhain. So somebody tells a personal story that's actually very similar to what Angela just shared about a pet and Samhain time. And then there is some information on the astrology for Samhain. So this would have been 2019 Samhain. Hello, Practically Mystic. So this talks about the Celtic people who eventually settled in the British Isles, brought a unique outlook on life, death, and the interaction of the two. The Celtic culture had a special reverence for the land. Their worldview was that of animism. The land, trees, water, animals, everything had its own spirit that either worked in harmony with the people or actively worked against them. And it says great importance was placed on family groupings, and the connection and cycle of life was reaffirmed during Samhain, when the dead could return to the land of the living and commune and celebrate the end of autumn and the beginning of the new year. Due to Samhain's placement in the calendar, it sits alone, which causes it to exist outside of the natural conventions of time and space. Oh my God, your husband's in the kitchen on fire twice yesterday? That's horrifying. And please buy a fire extinguisher if you don't have one already. So Samhain is one of the cross quarters. So we're going to talk about this as well. With the Sabbats, there are 4 quarters. So there is a Sabbat at the at the winter solstice. So the solstice is when the day is, the winter solstice is when the day is the shortest and the night is the longest, because the sun sits the lowest in the sky, right? Because of how it's pointed. I'm really bad at describing this stuff. And then summer solstice is the opposite. So it's the longest day and the shortest night. The equinoxes are when the sun, so daytime and nighttime, sun and moon get equal time, or at least day and night get equal time in the sky, right? So both of those, in both spring and fall, we're at an equal point. That's why they're called equinoxes. So those are the 4 quarters. The cross quarters fall in between the quarters. So that's what I'm talking about there. Hopefully this is making some kind of sense. There I'm sure are much more succinct, clearer videos about the Sabbats, but I like doing this, so we're just gonna do this. So in general, Samhain is about that final death cycle. And when you think of it from an agricultural perspective, by Samhain, anything you need to have harvested, stored, prepared for the winter is already done. And now you're actually transitioning into that time of the year when you're going to be relying on your food stores, when everybody is getting prepped or finished prepping for the winter time. Because in a lot of areas, things would be starting to get cold. We wouldn't be relying as much on the outdoors, and also the days are getting markedly shorter, so you have less daylight, and so people would naturally start to turn to more introspective practices. They'd be spending less social time because there's less daylight to work with. So when we think seasonally, Samhain is when we talk about the dark half of the year and being in that dark time. Samhain really starts to mark when that's being really felt by people. Right now, with electric light and all this kind of stuff, we're not affected by that as much. But I still think humans naturally feel that pull towards being more quiet, more at home, more as the days get shorter. We like your version of Sabbats. Oh, thank you. Bless you, because I am a little fish out of water, but I wanted to do this one early because it's such a foundational thing for so many people. And if you enjoy rituals and holidays, then the Sabbats may end up being a very meaningful part of your craft and of your practice. And for me, I like noting them. I like the way they make me think about how nature is working. By Samhain time, I know that the leaves are almost always all off the trees, or getting near to be all off the trees. Maybe not entirely, but we're getting to that place. I know that around Samhain time, we start to get more windy nights and blustery nights. Not snow yet where I live, but definitely things are windier and things are getting shaken off trees. And I just said that twice, but that's the thing I notice. We get a lot more rain here. So I like the Sabbats in the way that being aware of them makes me more aware of the cycles of nature. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. Okay, so after Samhain, wow, if that's what I did on my favorite, we're in trouble. After Samhain, we have Yule. So Yule is the winter solstice. Now, in a in the lore of the god and the goddess and their story, Yule morning, so when the sun rises at Yule, is when the sun god is seen to have been reborn. So the idea is that the goddess has been pregnant with the god through the sort of Samhain, after Samhain time leading up to Yule, I think. Please, somebody feel free to correct me if you know better. But I do know that we typically would celebrate Yule Eve as the longest night. And in fact, a lot of people on Yule Eve, Yule being around December 20, it lines up with the winter solstice. And some people just call it winter solstice. I like Yule. But winter solstice is when we have this longest night. So there would be like a vigil. A lot of people would stay up all night and wait for the sun to rise. That was a very traditional practice. That's something I've done on occasion, but I am not a morning person and I like to sleep. You shush. You shush. I'm much more likely to go to bed and get up early than to stay up all night. And then go back to bed after. Okay, sun's up. Okay, good night. Back to bed. Yule is like what Christmas, essentially, a lot of the Christmas traditions got based on. So a lot of things we associate, more like a late lunch person. What do you mean? You sleep in way later than I do. You hush your mouth or your fingers.
Well, I don't pretend.
Wow. Oh, Marion says they have bonfires in the north of Scotland for winter solstice. That would be amazing. So a lot of the practices we associate with Christmas were actually based on Yule practices. And if you haven't heard this before, my understanding, again, I'm very much paraphrasing from my not so awesome memory, but a lot of those traditions were essentially taken over and reworked into Christian tradition during the conversion of pagans to Christianity. So a lot of really common Christmas traditions are based on really cool pagan backgrounds. And it's worth Googling anything you tend to like about Christmas, anything you've ever liked about Christmas, like Google it, because there's probably a pagan origin for a lot of that stuff. There's a pagan origin for mistletoe. There's a pagan origin for the evergreen trees that we celebrate with.
The pagan origin for the candles.
The Yule, candles, the Yule log. Well, Yule log is a Yule tradition.
Even the Yule cake.
Even the Yule cake, which is based on the Yule log. Gift giving. The star on top of the tree. There's so much good stuff. So much good stuff. And in fact, the Christmas Yule mashup is one of the things that I found. Yeah, mistletoe, exactly. And that was one of the things that I really, really found awesome when I was new to witchcraft and paganism, was like learning all these traditions that were actually sort of pulled from Christian traditions. And you'll actually see that throughout almost all of the Sabbats, that there is a Christian mashup that you can look at to learn more. The 8 reindeer, yes, because reindeer associated for sure with Yule. Lennon says, I think the early Christians were trying to link Jesus with the sun. Yeah. Isn't the sun honored on Yule, winter solstice also? And yes, it is. And interestingly, the what was the word? The hub, the center of Yule and winter solstice was celebrating the rebirth of the sun. Isn't it interesting that the Son of God is also celebrated around the same time of the year that he was born, apparently at the same? I'm just saying, there's a lot of links there. So mythologically, yes, the goddess gives birth to the sun god on Yule. That's when our sun starts to rise on Yule morning. That is when our days start to get longer. It makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, they literally took the pagan holidays and made them Christian. Yeah, there's a lot of that happens. In Samhain, in fact, I printed out this chart because this actually lists the secular or Christian holidays we associate with each one. So the winter solstice is usually the 21st or the 22nd of December. Again, it's the shortest day of the year. It's an astrological day, which means it can move a little bit slightly, right? Our cross-quarter days, like Samhain, which aren't associated specifically with an astrological event necessarily, are usually on a calendar day. So Samhain is typically November 1st, with Samhain Eve being October 31st. And oh my God, how many evergreen trees are there in Bethlehem? I almost spit just now. Also, there's a very loud vehicle outside. Like, very loud. Is that a vehicle? That was a vehicle. Jesus.
I'm not sure what that is.
That was really funny. Okay, anyway. So Yule is whenever the solstice is. So if you look up when is winter solstice this year, if you are in the northern hemisphere, it's going to be December 21st, December 22nd or so. If you are in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be June 21st or June 22nd. Samhain in the southern hemisphere is going to be around the 1st of May, whereas Samhain up here is the 1st of November. So I hope that makes sense. Exactly, Shadow's Truth, sun and sun. Yes, I'm just gonna post that comment if it lets me. There. Oh, no, wrong one. There we go. That was an actual association, sun and sun. Mooncrone said that was done. Sorry, Mooncrone said that was done by Constantine upon his conversion to Christianity, the sun/Jesus connection. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Raven Morning Glory's granddaughter was born on Yule. That's amazing. I love that. So Yule, so some things I like to do on Yule is I like to have, well, actually, last year for Yule, I did a 21 Days of Yule YouTube video series thing, which if you haven't seen, check it out because I have, that vehicle is upsetting me. It needs to stop. It's really loud.
I think it's
is it a leaf blower or something, or like a lawnmower?
Some sort of a leaf blower or something.
I might need to get you to close
doing
this.
Yard work today.
Sorry, I want the fresh air, but I don't want the noise.
Okay.
So I did 21 Days of Yule, and if you're interested in this series, you'll probably want to check it out. There's a playlist on my channel because I did really short little interactive activities, kind of like an advent calendar, but for Yule. And each day there was like a little video surprise, which was super fun. I may do it again this coming Yule. It was a lot, but it was really fun to do. So I would probably do it again. I did a lot of like pick a card readings, and like I did some other little like quickie bits of magic, like some sigil magic. I did some kitchen witchery. It was meant to be interactive. So, and it was actually Peggy's, wasn't it your idea initially?
Was it a good idea?
No, it sucked.
Oh, then it wasn't mine.
It was good.
Oh, then it was mine. I actually was distracted. What did you say?
I was talking about the 21 Days of Yule series that we did.
I helped you
that
with
I did.
it.
Yeah.
I helped you with some.
We were brainstorming the one
I
day.
helped you with ideas for some of the
Wreaths?
days, but no, I think I did.
Dustin says Peggy butt.
Peggy's got an awesome butt.
Okay then. So some things that are in here as an example. So evergreens are symbols of strength and hope. So this says Yule, this is out of this Sabbat book again. Yule, or the winter solstice, is the longest night of the year in the northern hemisphere. On this day, one side of the planet is plunged into darkness for more consecutive hours than at any other time on the yearly calendar. One of the most well-known decorations for Yule has always been the evergreen. People bedeck their houses inside and out with the green boughs of pine, spruce, and holly, as well as all shapes and sizes of pine cones. Many folk do this for the sake of tradition without realizing the meaning behind it. These plants are the only ones that stay green during this sometimes treacherous season, and therefore are brought into the home as a reminder of strength, prosperity, fortitude, and joy. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Like, at a time when most of life's rituals were based on agriculture and what was happening in the land around us, the sign of green in the wintertime would probably fill people with a feeling of hope, right? It would be their connection to going, okay, life is still thriving even in these conditions. It would be a very uplifting symbol. It makes perfect sense to me. And it also says, this talks about how they flourish and stuff. It talks about fertility. So some spell crafts you can do with evergreens are making wreaths. I can't have a tree with lights because the cats chew it. I actually have a small little fiber optic tree. It doesn't have any like external like bulbs or lights or cords or anything on it. It's just, it sits in a little stand. The stand has some kind of a rotating light, and it's got little fiber optic strands in it. And so it slightly glows and shifts color. Yes, wassail. I probably didn't say that right, but I've had wassail. It's good. It's like a, if I'm remembering right, it's like that spiced wine. It's like apple cider spices in wine, if I'm not mistaken. But there's all kinds of stuff you can do during the darkest night. But again, kind of like Samhain, Yule time for me is very much a time of reflection. It's a time where I tend to do a lot of my internal work. I tend to want to curl up and be cozy and do activities that involve being cozy, like reading, playing video games. I know that sounds silly, but that's what I like to do when I'm, at home and it's dark and it's cold outside. There's a lot of that kind of thing. And for me, Yule is something to look forward to, both because I love the festive secular season for the holidays and getting together with family and enjoying time together, but also because we know that as of that solstice day, that the days are going to start to get longer again. And even in modern times, I think a lot of us really deal with this feeling of like heaviness as the days get shorter and shorter and shorter. So when we know that the days are turning around, we start to feel that like feeling of like building, burgeoning energy again. So yeah, I feel like I've talked a lot about just the first 2 Sabbats. So we should, but yeah. So some of you have mentioned some things that you do during Yule, but I'd love to hear other stuff. Like if you have things that you really like about Yule or you look forward to about Yule or practices you enjoy doing at Yule time. I tend to lean into almost all of the things that I loved about secular Christmas at Yule time. I like going out and looking at the lights on people's houses. I like working with candles. I like wreaths. I love snowmen as my favorite like secular symbol for the holidays because it's non-religious and it's fun and it's festive and it's playful and it's right up my alley. So I have a lot of like snowman decorations. And yes, Glühwein I've also had. We actually have somebody said, sorry, let me back up. Moira said, wassail sounds like Glühwein. I think it's very similar, if not basically the same thing. Maybe somebody else can chime in. I've had both. They taste very similar. I've had both warm. And yeah, I feel like they're very similar. But we have in Vancouver, we are very lucky that they put on a like traditional German Christmas market each year. And when we can go, it's amazing because they have like mugs. You go get a mug and you can get Glühwein or you can get, what was the other thing you can get? Like hot cocoa maybe or something. And you can walk around the market and shop at these like vendors that have these like really handcrafted, beautiful like glass ornaments or wood ornaments, really delicious German foods that are traditional around that time of year. It's amazing. It's so festive and great. Mooncron says, I once had a dog that tried to eat the glass balls off the Christmas tree. Needless to say, the tree came down shortly after being put up. That was a very expensive tree. It cost us a trip to the vet. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, and then Angela said, I'm the opposite. I mourn the loss of the cold. I'm trying to cool off from living in the desert most of my life. So interestingly, Angela, I'd be curious if or how that may affect your practice. Because while some of us might be feeling that uplifting energy of, yay, the days are getting longer, you might be feeling like, oh, like almost like they're going to get hotter again. And so you almost maybe your energy does something different. Yeah, I love decorating the tree. I love the music. Yeah, one of the things I feel very strongly about Yule / Christmas time is that because I believe in the power of the collective unconscious or the collective consciousness, I guess you could say. And I feel like Yule time, Christmas time is one of those times of year when cross-culturally across the globe, there are so many different traditions and practices that are all happening around the same time that put people in a more loving and generous mindset when they're not shopping. Loving and generous mindset. People tend to be thinking about family and connecting with others. And I feel like there's something very bonding globally about that time of year that's different than the rest of the year. I mean, we have traditions in all kinds of different cultures that can be incredibly different, and yet all seem to hold this connection to family and this connection to other people sort of at their heart. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, I'm all about the eating at Yule. Just roll me around. Oh, yes, please. All the baking, all the cookies, all the treats, especially shortbread. I love shortbread. And yes, we can get it all year round, but it's just so much more readily available in the holidays and freaking delicious. And I love it so much. Yeah, so Angela says, I love the spring, but when it gets hot, I don't feel alive from it. Summer for us in the desert is when we're locked indoors, while like most people are in the winter. Yeah, so your energy and how you relate to these Sabbats will be different if you're relating to them in that way of like, what is my energetic cycle at this time of year? And I think that's interesting to pay attention to, even if you're not interested in the Sabbats as like holy days that you want to like really honor for some reason. Because I feel very like kind of, again, loosey-goosey about the Sabbats. I like noting them, being aware of them, because I like to note what that means about the cycle of the world around me. But I don't feel particularly attached to most of them. And I do, though, like to pay attention to my own natural cycles and how my cycles energetically align with nature's cycles. And the Sabbats help me be more aware of that. So sometimes that's all it is in your eclectic practice, is this awareness of like, oh, this is around the time that the days and the nights are at equal length, or this is what it's like in my geographical area at this time of the year. Like this is my rainy season, or this is my hot season, or my cold season. Hi, Gayleen. Sea salt shortbread. Yum. Just don't put like chewy things or crunchy things in my shortbread. I mean, I can sometimes have like nuts in my shortbread.
Pecan shortbread.
It's okay, but I kind of prefer regular shortbread. Anyway, and I don't mind a little bit of like really, if they're made fresh, the shortbread that have the thumbprints and the jam in them, those can be good. But they have to be fresh. I don't want that chewy, like really gummy. No, not the kinds you get in a box at the store. They have to be fresh made. I want to bake.
Does that mean you're offering to make them?
No. Anyway, okay. So after Yule, we have Imbolc. Also sometimes called, there's another one. Imbolc Candlemas? Yeah, Candlemas. So Candlemas is actually, no. Yes, that's Candlemas. Now I have to Google it. Because Candlemas is I believe a Catholic. Yeah, they're the same. Okay, yeah. So that's one of the ones. It's also this. Yeah, I got that right. Okay. I'm getting screwed up because I'm looking at notes and then I'm like not trusting myself, which is, yeah, bad. Candlemas is Christian. Christian, not Catholic. That could be. So Imbolc is like the first ritual where we're starting to have like, it's still considered a winter ritual or winter Sabbat because of course the days are still quite short, the weather's still quite cold, and it's typically celebrated around February 1st. So at this point of the year, we're not really seeing a whole lot of sign of life returning. And for me, Imbolc kind of represents that time of the year when we're kind of past all the fun parts of winter and we're not quite at spring and we're kind of over it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's really what it's based on, but I do know that the center, like sort of symbology around Imbolc tends to be around light and fire. For example, it's also associated with Saint Bridget, or our goddess Bridget. And you can see again, there's a mashup happening, right? Where Bridget is associated with a sacred flame and is often associated with creativity and the sort of flames that we nurture through difficult times. So I see Bridget's flame as a representative of the things that, like, if we don't tend to them, will dissipate or will peter out, will flicker out. So for me, that's the time of the year when I sort of check in with things that are like related to my creativity and how do I need to nurture more of that, or what have I maybe been neglecting that I can pull more into. Yes, TC's life, correct. Catholics are Christians, not all Christians are Catholics. Yes, absolutely. Which is why I was trying to figure out if Candlemas was a Catholic thing or a Christian thing, as in not a non-Catholic Christian thing or a Catholic specifically thing. If anybody knows, feel free to let me know. The geographic origin of most of these traditions. So it depends. I think a lot of these traditions originated in the Celtic area. So a lot of them are, yeah, exactly, Lennon. So a lot of them come from Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Lunasa, or sorry, we're not at Lunasa, we're at Imbolc. The cross-quarter days and me have a very tricky relationship, and for years, and obviously still a part of me, likes to get Imbolc and Lunasa mixed up. They are across from each other on the wheel of the year. One is the sort of early spring, late winter kind of day, and the other is the early autumn, late summer kind of day. Yeah. Anyway, Imbolc candles. Basically, here's my thing at Imbolc time. My main things I tend to do around Imbolc is start to pay attention to any signs of life that predict the oncoming time of spring. So I look for things outside that make me think, okay, spring is coming. Sometimes at this time of the year, you might even see in my area, I live in a, what do you call our climate? Like a temperate rainforest climate. And we get very little snow typically and a lot of rain in the wintertime. So it's not unusual for us to have some very, very early spring blooms coming up. Like, what do you call those? Crocuses? And what are those little purple asters?
Some types of iris.
Yeah. So like sometimes you can get early blooms around that time of the year.
We had some stuff flowering in January. It was awesome.
Shadow's Truth says, Imbolc to me is setting intentions for Ostara getting ready for rebirth. Yeah. So it's kind of it's like a, what's the word I want to use? It's like a pregnant time. I don't want to say pregnant because the god's been reborn. There's not an actual like goddess mythology around pregnancy happening here. But this is a time when things are like going to be growing soon or just starting to grow. in the tarot, I would associate Imbolc with like the Ace of Wands time, where there's that spark, but nothing's really quite happening yet. It's just like the hint of an idea or the hint of a project, or it's, yeah. So that's a really great way to look at Imbolc, is setting intentions for a star, at which point we're going to start to grow those ideas. We're going to start to see them take form. Again, this episode, not my strong suit. So I appreciate everybody who's chiming in. Planting. I think it might be, yeah, it's kind of like an energetic planting in a way, although I think that's technically way too early for planting as far as what was actually happening outside. Yeah, spring cleaning time. That's a good point, Amy. So spring cleaning time, cleaning out the crap of winter, getting ready for spring. I see it as a transitionary time, just like I see Lunasa as a transitionary time. So we've had Samhain as this sort of dark end of the autumn has ended. We're preparing for winter, right? And then we have Yule, and then we have Imbolc. Imbolc is really, in a lot of ways, the depth of winter for a lot of areas. It's often when we see some areas get the most snow and the most cold is around that February timeframe, January, February timeframe. So it just kind of depends on where you live and what your geography is like. Obviously, on the southern hemisphere, Imbolc would actually be happening at around August 1st, whereas up here it's happening February 1st, typically. So Imbolc, cross quarter, it's one of those Sabbats that's a little bit like nebulous to me, a little bit abstract, as Lennon said earlier. So my main things I do at Imbolc is I tend to freshen up, as to Amy's point, I guess, I tend to freshen up my altars. That's a time when I tend to want to kind of change things a little bit, just start to prepare. And ritual-wise, I have a this is such a fun thing that I've been doing for so long that I just continued to carry it forward. But long ago, like probably now 15, no, it had to be longer than that. God, I feel like everything I say, I'm like 20 years ago, but I feel like everything happened like 20 years ago. Anyway, 15 to 20 years ago.
You're old now.
Shut up.
You're really old.
You're old. You're
Yeah,
way older than me. Okay, anyways, whatever. So a long time ago, when I was circling in community circles, I went to a ritual at Imbolc where somebody had brought a candle that had been lit from the flame from Bridget's flame, which, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at facts and sharing them. But Bridget's flame is actually in Ireland. I think it's, yeah, tending Bridget's flame. So Bridget's flame is actually in Ireland. There's an organization. They tend that fire. They tend that flame. They make sure it never goes out. It's a long-standing tradition to honor the goddess Bridget or the saint Bridget. Again, mashup there happening. But somebody had brought a candle that had been lit from that flame. And then during that ritual, we each had a candle and we were able to light it from that candle that had been lit from Bridget's flame. Ever since that day, I kept that candle, right? And ever since that day, every year at Imbolc, I get a fresh candle and I light it from the previous year's candle that had been lit from the candle that had been lit from the candle that had, I'm sure you can see how this goes, right? So in my mind, it energetically carries forth that sort of flame tending symbology. So I always have a partially burnt candle that I keep in a container and I label it my Bridget candle. And every year I pull that candle out, I light a new candle, and I usually let the old one kind of get low, and then I bring a new one out, light it, burn it for a little while, and then that new partially burnt candle gets put away for the following year. And it's such a simple thing that I've done for so long. And many years at Imbolc, that's literally all I do is I cast a circle, I call in the quarters, I do some tarot, and I do my little candle thing, and that's about it. I don't do a lot at Imbolc. It's never been one of those Sabbats that I feel very attached to. But I do love that idea of the candle and bringing it forward year after year. The other thing that you might encounter around this time of year, and I'm going to bring up a picture because there's one in here I know, that's Yule, is this, oh gosh, let me move my little sticky note. This thing here, which is called a Bridgets Cross. And either last year or the year before, I actually made a tarot sprayed. I made myself a tarot spread that was based on that wheat woven Bridgets Cross. I don't know the origin of the Bridgets Cross to hand. I looked it up at the time that I did the spread, but I just wanted a seasonal spread I could use at Imbolc, something to help me feel more connected to the season, because again, this is one of those Sabbats that I've had a difficult time feeling particularly drawn to. And it might be literally because at that time of the year, I'm just not drawn to do a whole lot of anything because it's wintertime and I just can't be bothered. I don't know what the deal is there. Interestingly, actually, the article in the Llewellyn Sabbat Almanac is Imbolc, kindling the fragile frame. Oh my gosh. Imbolc, kindling the fragile flame. Why can I not talk lately? So this talks about some important components of Imbolc that can be enacted to align with the day, such as lighting a fire or using candles, washing of the head, the hands, and the feet, tidying up the house and the overall living environment. Preparing a meal, particularly with milk. There is an association. That's right. There's an association with milk. Yes, Shadow's Truth. I will try to remember to pop it up somewhere. Somewhere. Maybe in the Facebook group. Are you in the Facebook group? If not, I might be able to put it on the community tab. But yes, I will share the spread. So the milk thing, I believe, is because while a lot of the food stores through the winter may be running on the lower side, there's still access often to milk through cows and goats that were kept. So I think there's something to do with milk, might be worth a Google, around Imbolc as well. So there's something to do with dairy. And the other thing is creating amulets of protection, such as the Bridgets Cross, that are strongly associated with the holiday. So yeah, it's an amulet of protection, which I had already forgotten. Again, this is a Sabbat that I haven't had a great bond with. And so it's one that I don't do a whole lot for. Moira says, I love the continuity of that candle tradition. I'm not a natural at ritual. Me either. The candle thing made so much sense to me, and it made me feel like I had some small thing that was Imbolc specific that would help me connect with the day. And I always do cards at rituals, so making a spread also helped me to feel like I had something I could do that felt good. There's one of the things I like about this book, by the way, is that there are some suggested ritual sort of ideas, usually some sort of food. So a lot of people will honor the Sabbats by preparing different kinds of food. Oh, Erica says, it's when cattle have babies and there is the first milk available of the year. They have babies at Imbolc? I love that. Yeah, I knew there was some sort of dairy something reference. Thank you for bailing me out on that one. Yeah, I really have been enjoying this book a lot for getting ideas. So let's move on to the next one, which is a quarter, which I'm much better at my quarter days. So we had winter solstice, we had Imbolc is the cross quarter, and now we have Ostara, which is the spring equinox. So spring equinox is a lot of the things that I do around spring equinox, and that is traditional to do around spring equinox, is the kind of stuff we do for secular Easter. So again, Easter, Ostara. Ostara is the name of oh gosh, she must be Celtic. I might have to look this up. Ostara is a goddess name. She's a spring goddess. I was like, it doesn't matter how many notes I have. Oh, I have some notes, that's right. Okay. Hold on. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to just catch us up here. So at midwinter solstice, the god is born from the goddess. Some people also see this as the goddess rebirthing herself in the form of the maiden. Yes, the goddess Eoster. Thank you. At Imbolc, the goddess is seen as both the wise, caring mother and the maiden. She has recently given birth to God and is fruitful and creative. She is with the burdens of motherhood, and the god is young and growing. So if we're looking at it that way, right? At the spring equinox, Ostara, the Lord and the Lady are both young, vibrant, and beautiful, excited, full of potential. So Ostara, we're looking at, yes, exactly, eggs, rabbits, hares, flower crowns, like anything in your mind that you're thinking about, like secular Easter, the Easter basket, like Easter bunnies, like the whole bit, much more pagan than Christian. Because according to Christianity, Easter was crucifixion. Ostara to me is very much about spring and bringing things to life. It's a wonderful time of year to do any kind of like actual planting magic. So setting an intention and burying it in earth in like a pot, planting a literal seed over that intention and nurturing a plant from seed to grow that and nurture that intention. I was recently reminded of that ritual actually in a reading I got recently that was really nice. It's a wonderful ritual to do at any time of year, but Ostara, it's just great. if we're associating the moon phases or the kind of energy of the moon phases with the energy of the Sabbats, then Ostara would be essentially the first quarter moon, right? It would be when the moon is waxing and at half point. Makes sense, right? So we have Samhain being the dark moon. Yule and Imbolc are kind of that waxing crescent. And then Ostara would be that first quarter moon. It's when it's the beginning of spring, right? It's the it's that it's full of hope, it's full of promise, it's full of things that are going to grow through the summer and through the warmer days of the year. I love decorating eggs at Easter. I'm a child. Let's just keep this in mind. I am forever a child. I had a chocolate pony this year, a little bit late, but I had a chocolate pony. I love Easter baskets. I love connecting with inner child energy at Easter time and any time, but I really do enjoy that. Peggy's gonna rat on me. Peggy could hide eggs for me every year and I would never get sick of it. Also, I appreciate when I get an Easter basket, which she didn't do this year because of COVID, but that's fine. We still got chocolate. Lennon says, I start my maiden study time at Ostara. Yes. If you're familiar with I just said familiar. If you're familiar with the Persephone, Hades, Demeter mythos, Persephone being sort of a representation of, I'm so bad at this. There is a really cute little short film on the Disney Plus channel called The Goddess of Spring. And that's what I'm thinking of. And I just don't know how to express it, but it's like Persephone, all la 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 in springtime as the maiden, is very much somebody that I associate with springtime. Hi, Donna. Jelly beans, chocolate bunnies, I'm in. I mean, in my opinion, anything associated with Easter is legit for Ostara. For the most part, that's basically what I lean into. But I usually I have a little ceramic Easter basket and I have some eggs. You can do the kind of eggs where you poke a hole in them with a pin when they're raw and you like poke a hole at the other end and you blow out all the gunk. And then you have a hollow egg and then you can paint that. And I've got a couple of those that have managed to survive over the years that I'll put out my little ceramic Easter basket on my altar, typically at Easter time, Ostara time. The labyrinth is one of my favorite symbols. I actually associate it with the Yule, with midwinter, actually, in Yule, interestingly. I didn't know it had an association with Ostara. A white chocolate unicorn. Do you hear that, Peggy? Moonchrome got her granddaughter a white chocolate unicorn. Where's my white chocolate unicorn? I didn't get a white chocolate unicorn. I'm being a brat. Wow!
I thought that horse was a unicorn because it had
You did. That's very true. That's very true. So yeah, I like to decorate eggs. I also have a nests and anything to do with eggs and growing things are wonderful times of year to do prosperity magic or any kind of magic where you want to make something bigger, want to make something grow, want to have more of it. Why, thank you. There's cookies in front of me now. These are has anybody else like totally mind blown by the bazillion flavors of Oreos now? Side rant. I've been on for almost an hour and I'm only like, well.
We're on for an hour talking about tea, chocolate, cookies, candy, and unicorns.
And Sabbats.
And Sabbats.
Are there tarot associations to any of these Sabbats, i.e. Empress, High Priestess? Probably. That would be worth making a video about. I'd have to probably sit and think about how I want to make the associations, because comes to mind right away would be, yeah, see, I'd have mixed feelings because Persephone I associate with the High Priestess, so potentially she would be with Ostara. I don't know, interesting things. So if anybody else has thoughts about, as I'm babbling through this, as we're on a particular Sabbat, if you have things you want to share that you love about the Sabbat, please feel free to chime in. There are tarot associations. Of course there is. Erica, you're making me want those books. Llewellyn has this series of 8 books, one for every Sabbat, and I really want the set at some point, someday, maybe. But I do really like this almanac. I do. Whoa, Lucy, that sounded so dirty. Okay, let's talk about the next Sabbath, which is Beltane. This one's one of my favorites because it's a sexy holiday. Okay, so let's just refer to my little notes about the god and goddess mythos around Beltane, because they probably put it much nicer than I will put it. Ah, yes. At Beltane, the god and goddess have reached maturity and celebrate their love with joy. That is not how I would have said that, but yes. At Beltane, we typically get the union of god and goddess. So this was a very fertile time. This was a time when the Celts would be really into the heat of spring, so to speak. Lots of fire celebrations, jumping over bonfires, a lot of stuff around that sort of building, burgeoning energy. Think of this as the waxing gibbous moon. I like this whole moon association thing. So the kind of energy associated with the waxing gibbous moon, when things are like almost at that potential, almost at that full moment, and what gets us there, that's sort of the energy for Beltane. So Beltane being in the northern hemisphere May 1st, and in the southern hemisphere, Beltane would be happening on November 1st. So when we're celebrating Samhain, the southern hemisphere is celebrating Beltane. Sex, let's just say it. I freaking love drumming circles.
I thought you were gonna say sex.
That too. Anything that sort of brings in that sort of burgeoning, fiery energy. It is one of my favorite festivals because I feel it every single year. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, like, I can tell when it's Beltane. I feel my energy lifting. It's a very noticeable time of year energetically for me. I feel Beltane the way that I feel Samhain. Like, I feel the depth and the dark in Samhain, and I feel that sort of birth and that, not birth, but that light and uplifting energy in Beltane, the increased energy at Beltane. Yes, so maypoles, traditionally, the maypole that we associate is a Beltane tradition. And interestingly, secularly, we've often heard of May Day, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, which was the day when people would do things like maypole celebrations and things. And I had no idea that was there was a pagan association with that growing up. But Beltane often is like when the god and the goddess marry or unite, depending on your perspective, or both. So I used to do things that would honor the duality of god and goddess both mating and the energy they would then produce. Because the idea is that this is that time of year when they're both young, they're both virile, they're both fertile. There's all of this sort of good energy. And May is very much a time of planting and really getting the work of spring done. So it was a big energetic push in times when we were relying exclusively on agriculture for our day-to-day living, when we would be focused on things like planting and getting that work done, taking care of business. Yeah. Peggy's just looking at me like, what? Lucy says burning witches. That wasn't a May thing, was it? Do I not know that?
May is about fertility.
Yes.
And the maypole is a phallic symbol.
Yes, the maypole is a phallic symbol. And everybody was dancing around the big phallus with ribbons. Woohoo! We cooked dinner over a fire, tied wish ribbons in our tree. Oh, I love wish ribbons at Beltane. Yes, if you don't know, so you can set intentions. Hi, Glitter Pop Love. Welcome to the live. You can set intentions. You can tie ribbons onto trees. Wow, Peggy.
What? I'm helping.
You are helping. The veil is thin at Beltane as well, opposite of Samhain. Yeah, so these are the cross-quarter days when you have thinning veil. Interestingly, I'm also we kept our fire going all day. It's a very fiery festival. Of all these Sabbats, Beltane is the one that feels the most like the actual element of fire to me. The most like fire to me, and I just love anything that pulls that energy in. So here in the Llewellyn Almanac, we have these girls dancing around a fire. Beltane beyond the maypole. Yes, most people think of the Beltane, that very masculine symbol of the holiday, and it says, I'm just curious if there's any fun tidbits in here I can share. Sacred waters. Hundreds of years ago, people made pilgrimages to sacred waters in hopes of cures for illness or blessings or good fortune at important times of the year, such as Beltane. Sacred wells and springs abounded in Ireland and throughout Europe. And no one could be surprised that water, most often associated with goddesses, might be venerated by ancient people. In so many senses, it was the elixir of life. And it talks here about wells and springs and Beltane. Okay, I'm not being very helpful here. Literally, this is Yeah, there's a lot of talk about gardening. Oh, there's a little bit here about the Green Man. So the Green Man, I believe at Beltane is when the Green Man is associated with sort of starting, and this would be the Oak King, if I remember correctly, is sort of dominant at that time. Wow, you know what? I'm just, yeah. So for me at Beltane, drum circles, fire, anything growing, all of those things I associate with Beltane. Yes. And that Beltane is the Sabbat we most recently had. What did Peggy say that makes you want to celebrate? Oh, I'm with you now, Heidi. Lennon says, I do vow rituals, journal about sexuality, one I want to try. That's perfect. Yeah. Bonfire rituals for wild woman archetype work. Yeah, wild woman archetype work would be great at Beltane. Anything that connects you to that sort of more primal energy, I think, or that anything that you want to do that based on that primal energy is perfect at Beltane. There probably is elemental associations with all the Sabbats, Moira. I don't know them, but I would associate Beltane with fire. Like, probably Beltane and Samhain both. They probably are cross-referenceable. It's interesting, actually. Okay, my brain will go down a rabbit hole, and we don't need that because I'm already having a hard time focusing. But yeah, drums for sure. Bass drumming, like really deep bass drumming and drum circles and like dancing around fires. Some of my favorite Beltane moments involved all of those things. And sexy fun times. So yeah, that's Beltane. That's Beltane for me in a nutshell. Litha, or the midsummer solstice, comes next. So at midsummer, we're looking energetically at the energy we might associate with the full moon, right? So summer solstice is when the day is the longest and the night is the shortest. So it's the opposite of Yule, the opposite of midwinter, sometimes called midsummer, summer solstice, Litha. Beltane and Samhain are both fire festivals for Celts. Yeah, that makes sense, Erica. Yeah, totally. So there's two main associations that I have with Litha. Oh, it's your birthday at Litha, Raven? That's awesome. I associate midsummer with fairies, with fae specifically, and with having an easier time connecting with the fae and all that that represents. So for me, it's a very fae time of year. There's a whole lot of associations with midsummer besides just that. One of my little note sheets says about midsummer, let's see. The goddess is mature and glowing. The god slowly begins to turn toward the darkness of the shadows towards the realm of silence. The lady is the mother of all nature. So again, we're looking at that mothery archetype. So in the story of Persephone and Demeter, I would see midsummer as Demeter's time, or any other mother goddess archetype time would be midsummer. Oh, it's your son was born on Litha too, Donna? Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Okay, so oh, Ostara tree. Somebody's talking about an Ostara tree. Sorry, I know we're on Litha, but that was really cool. I actually have seen people do like Easter or Ostara trees with little egg ornaments and stuff hanging. They're so festive and pretty. I love spring. Okay, so summer solstice. If we think agriculturally, summer is when everything is like blooming, things are growing, lots of flowers, lots of pollinators around, lots of activity happening at summertime. And also this is when I think a lot of us have the longest days. We do the most. We tend to be really active. Clanadonia? No. Feel free to let me just pop that into my little search window here. I love drumming. I miss drum circles so much. That's the one of the things I miss is that when I was a lot younger, it felt like everywhere you had these like pagan like circles you could find easily. They'd be public rituals or public rites or public drum circles, and you could go. And maybe I've just gotten old and cranky. I just don't feel like I see as much of that anymore. Just out on its own. Like there used to be, I feel like I used to be able to go to drum circles and like you could just hang out in the area, or you could join it, or you could just randomly start dancing or whatever. It was so Beltane to me. Hi Kelly, is your first time being live? Awesome, welcome. Or being with us live, I guess I should say. Yeah, so summer's are alive today. Yeah. I didn't say alive. I just meant live.
Well, more fun the way I said it.
So midsummer, literally the only things that I tend to not do a lot of ritual around midsummer personally. I don't know if anybody else has practices they really lean into at midsummer, but I just enjoy the sunshine, and I tend to enjoy just the longer days and having more energy in general and having more things that I'm typically doing as well. Newman hates it when you drum. Oh, poor Newman. Yeah, our dogs don't really love it either. Peggy pointed out. That's true. I don't do a lot of drumming. I miss drumming. I need to get some headphones on and listen to some like good, like bass thumpy, drummy goodness. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm out of ideas for midsummer. I'm sure there's something good in here. It's the one that's coming up. So let's see if we can get any inspiration. Oh, I'm still on Beltane. Clearly I can't let it go. Look, there's even a little fairy in the I'm so bad at knowing which side is this little fairy in the drawing here. We need an I miss drumming bumper sticker. Oh, welcome, Ash. That's awesome. I hope this is like for anybody this is your first Eclectic Witchcraft Live. I'm so all over the place. I'm not usually this scattered, but really Sabbats and me are kind of, yeah, I do little things. So the season of summer solstice, I'm just curious if there's any fun ideas in here for rituals or things like that. This talks about the goddess Caradwen and cauldron magic.
Is also new.
Yes. Oh, and Lily's new too. Yay! Welcome. Okay, let's see. Oh, I went to the feasts and treats section for Litha, and the first thing I see is salad on a stick, and I'm like, so we're talking about a vegetable kebab, right? Right? It's a vegetable kebab. That's what it is. It's a vegetable kebab. But I love calling it salad on a stick, and from now on, if I have vegetable kebab, I'm going to call it salad on a stick because that just sounds. Kebab. This sounds really yummy. This is grape tomatoes, fresh basil, mozzarella. This sounds really yummy. Ooh, strawberries. I love strawberries. Strawberries around midsummer. I've actually got strawberries in the fridge right now. They are delicious. I like putting them in balsamic vinegar and sugar. My favorite thing.
Sharing.
You don't like strawberries, balsamic, or sugar.
I like strawberries and I like sugar. But
you can't have them.
Well,
so. Oh, thanks, Donna. Tahini, sparkling raspberry lemonade. What else is suggesting here? Oh, this is talking about making tissue paper lanterns at summertime. Oh, that would be fun. It's paper mache lanterns using balloons and then paper mache the lantern. I've done this. What was that festival that's in Vancouver, honey, that we've been to where they walk around with the Lantern Festival? Was that for midsummer? Or was it for Samhain?
Summer solstice.
Yeah, so midsummer. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so there is a thing that was happening here for a bit. When it was small, it was really fun. It's gotten too big for me now and too smoky. But everybody would get together and you could actually go to these workshops ahead of time and you could make your lantern, and then there would be a nighttime processional and everybody would bring their paper lanterns they'd make and they'd do a processional through this park. Yeah. It's gotten huge, but it used to be a little bit smaller and I get funny in crowds. I don't know if they still do either. There's also a thing here about making a fairy garden in a jar. That would be such a fun summer solstice craft. So yeah, summer solstice. I don't know. I just feel like there's so many different things I want to do at that time of year, and it all feels solstice-y because it's summery. As far as other holidays associated with the summer solstice or midsummer, does this have any listed? Let's see. St. John's something. I can't read this. St. John's hot. I don't know what that says. Hi, Disa. Yeah, I don't know what that says, but there's a St. John something or other associated with the summer solstice, apparently. I mean, these are just random internet resources. I'm not clearly accurate in any way. Bye, Donna. Oh, Matt's birthday cake before he gets enough beer in his system that he makes a flamethrower with his breath blowing at his candles. Oh, is it St. John's wort? No, it looks like Higns. St. John's Hines? Marion says, I go to a stone circle near me at the solstice. That sounds amazing. I love getting to the ocean around that time of the year if I can. Peggy needs to drive me to the ocean this summer. Dude, I need to go to the ocean.
I need to get on a bus and go to the ocean.
No, but I want to go to the ocean. Like the sandy ocean, not the rocky ocean.
Ocean.
Barry.
I said ocean.
You did say ocean. Okay.
Skip the yes.
After the full moon energy of summer solstice, I want to go to the stone circle so bad. After the full moon energy of summer solstice, we have, this is the one I always mess up. Lunasa. And what's funny about Lunasa, okay, so Lunasa or Lammas, or I think there's also another name for it. Lunasa, Lammas. Okay, so I believe Lammas has Catholic associations as well. Kind of like Candlemas has, I believe, Catholic associations for Imbolc. For Lunasa, Lunasa is like the bread holiday. That's basically how I remember it, which is more of a Lammas thing. Oh, Pomona, she does need to take me to Mexico. I've actually never been anywhere where the ocean water is warm. Like, I'm not even all that picky. Just take me someplace where the ocean water is warm and let me swim in it all day long. And give me lots of sunscreen because I burn.
That's Florida.
That's also Mexico and some parts of Southern California.
Okay.
And yeah, it's the first harvest.
We're not traveling this year.
Lunasa is often associated with grain because that is the time of year when grain starts to be harvested. So wheat, it's very much a wheaty holiday. And Lu was a sun god who I believe dies at Lunasa. Quick Google because I am rusty in my mythology. But Lu was a Welsh figure. One of the most prominent gods in, oh, sorry, my bad, Irish mythology. I thought he was also mentioned in the Mabinogion, which is Welsh origin. But Lu is portrayed as a warrior, a king, a master craftsman, and a savior. He's associated with the arts. And I believe Lu was the season that his, I'm pretty sure. Lunasa. Let's just look up the Lunasa festival because it's definitely associated with Lu. Yeah. Gaelic festival marking the beginning of the harvest season. I'm looking at Wikipedia right now because help me. And there's definitely a mention here to Lu somewhere. I feel like I used to know this. Yeah, the festival itself is named after the god Lu. It involves great gatherings that included religious ceremonies, ritual athletic contests, most notably the Talian Games. Oh, I didn't know that was, yeah, the Irish Talian Games are associated with Lunasa. What Welsh book? The Mabinogion. But I'm probably getting my mythologies mixed up. Probably, yes. Let's see. Yeah, there was something about Lu and the death of Lu. Are you teasing me in chat, honey? I can hear Peggy typing and giggling, which means she's about to say something bad. In the next episode of Lisa Reads from Wikipedia, if that is not the most accurate depiction of what we are doing right now, I don't know what is. I'm not pretending.
Hey, at least you're okay. You're having a conversation that matters. You don't have to be an expert on all of it, right?
That's right. Okay.
But I'm going to tease you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
While you eat cookies.
Mm-hmm. A cookie. Okay.
A cookie?
I'm going to show you a picture. Pictures help. So this is what Lammas looks like in the Llewellyn Sabbat Almanac. He's grabbing a bunch of wheat. His mother, Tailtew, dies from exhaustion and he honors her by holding games. Oh, interesting. Okay. So here's the thing. Around the time of Lunasa / Lammas, I have bread or pasta, usually bread, as a way to honor the Sabbat. I do very little at this time of year. It's not a Sabbat I feel particularly drawn to. The idea of first harvest feels a little nebulous to me, and it's not quite the fullness of fall yet. So it just feels like kind of the end of summer. There is an association with Lunasa, which is August 1st in the Northern Hemisphere, and I have to look at my chart. February 1st in the Southern Hemisphere. And, oh my God, Peggy, I spit my coffee. Yeah. He was part of the Tuatha De Danann. Thank you. I really need to do more reading on, you know what? I have read all this stuff. The problem is I don't retain half of it. So that's a problem for me personally. But what was I just saying about harvest? And I totally lost my train of thought.
Quick, Wikipedia, you'll find it again.
No, shush. No, what was it? Oh, marriage. Peggy and I got married right around Lunasa.
Okay, whoa.
And we had our
that we got married.
No, I didn't forget that we got married. You stop. No. Okay, what? There's an association. Hold on. There's an association with that time of year and hand fastings specifically that I can't flipping remember right now. It is seen as one of the two most auspicious times for hand fasting, the other being at Beltane. I know I just said auspicious. Becky's just laughing at me now. She forgot we're married. You heard it here, folks. You stupid. I did not. Oh my God. Anyway, Peggy and I got married.
Did we? Did we now?
The first.
Really, we did.
We didn't get married on Lunasa. There's Lisa, there's a strange butch in your house. Who are you? Why are you here?
Well, apparently I married
This
you.
chat has gone to hell in a handbasket. This is terrible. Oh my God, Erica, thank God I wasn't eating anything.
About our marriage and you say it's terrible?
I'm not talking to you at all right now. Okay, so I remembered feeling very excited about getting hand fasted around that time of the year. Hush. We actually got married on August 5th, which is just 4 days after Lunasa. Pasta, bread, dumplings, I would totally celebrate that. Exactly. Honestly, traditionally, because it was when the wheat was getting harvested, the first harvest of wheat and grain, it was very common to celebrate that time of year with grain-based things. We did something that day, apparently got married. You're such a brat. This is such a crap show of a chat at the best of times. For anybody who actually tuned in for any kind of educational content, like, I sincerely apologize. I am useless today. But there we go. I'm still eating a cookie, so life isn't that bad. Wedding dumplings. Now she's remembered. We didn't have dumplings. We had cupcakes with white icing and little black roses piped on top. FYI, black food coloring stains everything it touches. Okay. That's probably enough about Lunasa. I'm done. Oh, moon energy. So Lunasa would have the energy of the waning gibbous moon. So the moon from full has started to shrink a little bit, but it's not at half yet. So Lunasa is sort of the beginning of when we're starting to feel things, energy fading a little bit into wintertime, or into autumn, I guess I should say. Okay, you settle down over there.
Started it. Blame Marion.
No. And the first fruits, yeah. Mabon comes after Lunas. Yes, thank God. I was like, oh my God, did I get them wrong? No, Mabon comes after Lunasa. So after Lunasa comes Mabon, which is the fall equinox. So the fall equinox happens in the northern hemisphere right around the 21st of September, 21st, 22nd of September. But in the southern hemisphere, it's going to be March 21st, 22nd. So it is the day and night are equal length at the equinox. But now we are transitioning from summer, or from the warm half of the year, or the light half of the year, into the dark half of the year. So after Mabon, the days officially start getting shorter. So Mabon to me represents that transitionary time from light half to dark half of the year. Every time she says something ridiculous in chat, she literally looks at me waiting for my reaction. Like, she's literally a toddler trying to, like, she was like the class clown in the back, just like throwing spitballs at the teacher. And yeah, the filling is falling off of my Oreo, and it's very sad. Apple magic is great for fall. You're not helping, Erica. Mooncrun says, I made a wedding cake once with black roses. I swore that would be the only time I did that. Yeah, we had white and black roses as a theme of our wedding, so that was a thing. Yes, so apples, fall, excuse me, Mabon is such a wonderful time for apples. It's also the time that I personally associate with pagan Thanksgiving, right? So the kinds of things that you might associate with secular Thanksgiving, which in the States, in the US would be like third week of November or so. In Canada, it's actually it's like around third week of October. So it's a little closer to Mabon actually in Canada. But Mabon would be the harvest where they've got the most sort of stuff coming up all at the same time. So lots of fruit, lots of grain, lots of plants and vegetables and things. Lots of root vegetables are coming in. That sort of big push towards food storage is really happening. So that was a time when they were most likely to have big feasts. Yes, exactly, Lennon. So like lots of eating. So basically to me, Mabon is that time of that I really feel like it's fall. Now, where I live, it doesn't start to really feel nature, like outside, like nature doesn't start to feel very autumnish until closer to Samhain, but it sort of heralds the beginning of the fall season here. So at Mabon is when I'm like, okay, things are starting to transition. We're moving into fall time. That's again when I'm starting to notice winds picking up and things like the rain starts to get more. But it's actually still pretty nice here, usually around that time of the year in September. Excuse me, Erica says, I like having 3 Thanksgivings a year, pagan, Canadian, and American. Then you get one in September, October, November. I'm down. I think it's a great plan. Mabon, I'm pretty sure, again, it's a Catholic day called Michaelmas, which, again, I know nothing about. It's just on my handy-dandy chart I found on Google. So, like, again, no confirming its accuracy. If anybody knows anything about Michaelmas and wants to share, I would be super curious to hear. But there is a reason why a lot of the pagan...
You want me to look up a Wikipedia page for you to read from?
I'm about to throw an Oreo at your face.
Okay, go on.
I'm going to throw it at your face. You better catch it. Are you going to catch it? Are you going to catch it?
Come on. No.
It literally, she's like, come on. First of all, she knows how bad I am at throwing things. She's got her hand up like she's going to catch it. It flies over her shoulder and bounces off her sewing table. And now you can't let our diabetic dog get it, though, so you're going to have to go find it. Hey, can you go find the Oreo that landed?
I don't know where Bro is. He'll leave it alone.
He will. I don't think he heard food throw.
I have no idea where it went.
It bounced off of everything. It bounced off your table, and it's back there somewhere. Good luck. At least it'll keep you away from your keyboard for a little while.
Oh no, I'll be back.
Mooncrone says 5-second rule. I'm still trying to eat the first Oreo.
It might be 5-hour rule. I have no idea where it landed. Somebody's getting a tarot bag with a cookie in it.
Surprise Oreo in your next tarot bag order. Just kidding. No, that won't actually happen.
I'm not kidding.
No, we thankfully we do keep all of the finished bags in sealed Rubbermaid containers where they are kept away from every possible contaminant, including peanut butter chocolate Oreos. Okay. Angela says I want that one. Okay, we've made it. We've made it around the year, guys. Okay, so Mabon is the autumn equinox. And then we circle back to Samhain. So Mabon would be the 3rd quarter moon, if we're attributing the Sabbats to the moon phases. And Samhain would be the waning crescent moon. And then we bring us back to the dark moon at Yule. I really love the moon phase associations, actually. So to whoever, I think it might have been Moira, to whoever brought that up early in the chat, I think that's a really great way to think of the energy of the seasons or of the Sabbats, because they really do align beautifully with the moon phases. So just to recap, Yule is the dark moon phase seasonally throughout the whole year. I'm going to follow my chart. Imbolc would be the waxing crescent energy, right? The building of the light. Ostara would be the 1st quarter moon, right? When things are like half and half in equal balance. Beltane would be the waxing gibbous, when things are really burgeoning. There's that big energy, but it's not quite at its peak yet. Summer is the peak of that energy, so the full moon energy. Sorry, midsummer rather, Litha. Lunasa would represent the waning gibbous, when that moon is starting to shrink, so the energy is starting to come down a little bit. The Mabon would be the 3rd quarter moon, when we're half and half, but we're moving into the dark half of the year. And Samhain would be the waning crescent, and then back to, is it?
I found it.
She found the Oreo. It's got a crack in there.
She broke it. She threw it, so she bound. Oh my God, that thing just went flying.
I mean, it's an Oreo.
I'm still gonna eat it though.
It's fragile. Lennon says, I associate Mabon with the goddess descent. Yeah. Erica also says, I love the moon phases too. The sun cycle aligns with the moon. So cool. Yeah. I really like that, because for somebody like me who works a lot with the moon, but struggles with the Sabbats, I really enjoy. Angela says, my broken cookie. Oh, she's back at her computer. She can see herself. Yeah, I really like that, because it makes it easier to associate what the energy of each of those Sabbats is really like. first quarter, third quarter for the equinoxes to me makes perfect sense because the moon is also at that perfect half point. So I really love that association, actually. That was a really neat thing to come out of this chat. Okay, references. I love this. If you want to just get a little bit more connected to the Sabbats, I really recommend getting this. It comes out every year. I don't know when it started. I want to say it started at least 3 or 4 years ago. You guys are incorrigible. Don't encourage her. It's so bad. Anyway, this is called the Sabbats Almanac by Llewellyn. It's really, really good. It costs $12.99 in the US, $17.99 in Canada. You can start to get it around, I don't know if you can get it yet for next year because we're about, probably by summer, you can get it. And Erica is reminding us as well about the individual Sabbat book set you can get from Llewellyn that will cost you more money because you have to buy each individual Sabbat's book. This one's great because it changes each year. So you could get a bunch of different ideas. There's articles, there's astrology information for each Sabbat in here. There are craft ideas, like actual craft ideas. There are ritual or magical spell work kind of ideas. There's crystals associated with each Sabbat in this book. There is cooking and recipes associated with each Sabbat. So if you want to just eat your way through the wheel of the year with different foods associated with each season, Lou is mentioned in the Mabinogi. Thank you for looking that up, Disa. I'm not crazy. So there is Welsh associations with Lou as well then. That's really, really good. Thank you so much. Peggy, stop picking on me right now. You have to live with me, which means when I stop this chat, you have to put up with all of my complaining about how mean you were. So you be nice.
But I'm
no.
Oh.
Another book.
Maybe? No.
Erica's calling you a bad butch. Okay. Thank you, Sapphire Moon. You can pre-order the next year's Sabbat Almanac because I need to get next year's. This has been a very worthwhile, like $18 for me because I've referred to it a bunch already, and I've still got a few more Sabbats to use it for this year. I haven't done like a whole lot in here, but it's been a really great way to stay connected to the Sabbats for me because I am so Sabbat loosey-goosey in my practice. The beauty of an eclectic practice, guys, is you don't have to practice or associate yourself or acknowledge any of the Sabbats if that doesn't speak to you. The whole point of this series is to let you know bits and tidbits and let you kind of pick and choose. And this is a perfect example of something that you can clearly tell is not a huge part of my practice. I try to notice the seasons. I try to notice the Sabbats. Peggy, settle down.
I just hit enter and you haven't even read it yet.
Because you're literally humming to yourself about what a jerk you are. I know you.
Well, yeah.
Anyway. So another book that I'll point out that I am probably going to be taking this actually back to, I like to recycle my books back to bookstores and used bookstores. This one has a lot of group rituals that you could convert to solitary rituals, but it feels very group ritual focused. That said, this is by Deborah Blake. She is the author behind the Everyday Witch Tarot. She also has another book that I love that I actually pulled up on my tablet so I could show you. This was the first book of hers I read, called, let's see if I can, is it going to stay on the cover page? Are you going to, no, it's not going to stay on the cover. I'm so bad with my Kindle stuff. Okay, no, come back. I want to show you guys this. And I'm real bad at getting my stuff to come up. Ah, here we go. About this book cover. There we go. It's called Everyday Witchcraft, Making Time for Spirit in a Too Busy World. That's what it looks like. This is also by Deborah Blake. I love her writing style. She makes witchy stuff very accessible. And in this book, so she's written both of these. This is very ritual centric. There is moon rituals in here as well as Sabbat rituals. But, all it says is chapter or contents. That's what I want. Excuse me. I have hiccups now. I don't think this gets into, there is actually a site called Wikipedia, spelled W-I-C-C-A, Pedia. If anybody wants to throw in a link like Peggy, who could actually make herself useful instead of teasing me constantly, there is actually a Wikipedia. She's not listening to me. She's so busy typing. You know what? I'm going to kick her butt after this chat is over. You guys just wait. You guys just wait and see. Literally just staring at me while she types. I'm going to give you guys this website because this actually exists. if I can find it. Oh, wait. No. Wikipedia 2Cs is a book. I thought it was a website, but no, it is a book by Sean Robbins and Leanna Greenaway. Next time we'll have wiki. I was actually going to. I had every intention of sharing my screen and going through some of the Wikipedia articles with you guys, but I was not that organized and it didn't happen. And I thought I prepared for this chat, but no. So I'm sorry for the chaos. There's a Wikipedia? Maybe that's the one I was thinking of.
Well, probably I found it first.
So anyway, the moral of the story, an hour and 40 minutes in, is you do not have to practice things that don't resonate with you. But if you are drawn to the idea of having special days to celebrate, if you're drawn to the idea of having days that connect you with nature or that connect you with the cycles of the earth or that connect you with the stories or mythologies of God and Goddess, then thanks for selling me out, Erica. Then if that's the case, if that's something that you're looking for, then do more research and reading.
Nothing if not fair.
Anyway, then do more research and reading on the Sabbats and see if anything about them resonates with you. I think sometimes the trap we fall into is we feel like if we celebrate any of them, we have to celebrate all of them. There have been many years in my life I've only celebrated Samhain and Yule.
And Beltane.
Those are pretty much my three
Beltane.
favorites. Definitely Beltane.
Beltane.
Beltane's the one Peggy always remembers. I wonder why. But anyway, what did you just do?
Nothing.
Beltane. She likes Beltane. Okay, you can pick and choose is what I'm trying to say.
Nobody puts Peggy in the corner. Has time of my life playing in the background.
Moon cone. Oh no. I've so given up. She can't stop laughing over there. She literally can't stop. Literally can't stop laughing. Peggy's a bad influence on. Yeah, she's a bad influence on me too. You should have met me or seen me before Peggy came into my life. Yeah. See, Lennon says some years I just do a few, others more or less. Yeah. I mean, there are years that I don't even barely notice. Like I barely noticed Imbolc this year. I barely noticed it. But so just so just know that you can build your practice however makes sense for you. You can connect with whatever makes sense to you, and you don't have to feel obligated to all or nothing. You can all or nothing, but I think for a long time I felt like if I wasn't celebrating all the Sabbats, I was like a bad witch or something. Like I was like an improper witch or not good witch. I was a bad witch. But the reality is that there aren't set rules for this kind of stuff. Moira, before Peggy, you were serious and dour? No, but I was much more naive and I couldn't sass back at all. She gave me like 99% of my sass. I had like very little sass. I was very like meek, I guess would be a good word.
Timid and shy.
Timid and shy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just typed timid and shy. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Vicky. I think you might have asked this earlier too. Is the Llewellyn book primarily for the Northern Hemisphere? This one, does it even... Let me just see actually if it addresses. I think it might be for both because it doesn't seem to be very date based. Let's just see what it says here. Because it introduces each Sabbat by the Sabbat name. The next full moon will be the last full moon before. Okay, so it does seem to be when it does talk about dates, which to be honest, the only times it seems to mention dates is around the astrology section, where it talks about the certain moons and signs around the season, which is a very short section in each Sabbat. That section seems to be Northern Hemisphere based. I don't think anything else in each section has anything to do with dates, so it would be extremely useful for both North and South, with the exception of that astrology section. There may even be
people in the Southern Hemisphere literally like flip it.
They flip it, yeah. So when we're celebrating winter solstice, they're celebrating summer solstice because that's in midsummer. So it's literally like whatever. If you were to find one of these charts, you would literally just reverse the dates. So Mabon is 21st of September in the Northern Hemisphere, but that's when it's Ostara for the Southern Hemisphere, right? I would say also check because Llewellyn being a big publisher, they may actually put out a Southern Hemisphere version of their almanacs. I'm not sure, but truly there's very little in here that references dates. So I think it would be really easy to just use this. Yeah, literally the astrology section is the only section. And just to give you an idea of how much space that takes up, I'm just going to pull one up because I think it's literally 2 or 3 pages per section. It's not much. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it talks about it a little. Okay, so cosmic sway, August, the hottest month of the year, which obviously August would be one of the coldest months of the year if you were in the southern hemisphere. I'd be curious to know if they do have a southern hemisphere version of this, because they may. Oh, here we go. So this is an advertisement actually in the back of the book. This is what those Sabbat books that Erica Raw Spirit mentioned look like. So they're called Llewellyn's Sabbat Essentials books. And I want all 8 of them. If Peggy loved me, she would get me all 8 of them and just be like, here, honey, this is for putting up with my crap on your live stream.
You tried to kill me with a cookie. A cookie projectile.
Cookie. I wonder if anybody's invented a cookie gun yet. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so glad that you got anything useful out of this. But I can believe you're just getting out of the tub because my baths are epically long as well. Yeah. I had to eat it didn't have a hair in it. If it had a hair in it, you should have picked the hair out before you ate it. God. They're not cheap. Yeah, so yeah, they're probably what, about $15 a piece? $15 to $20 a piece times 8 of them. We're going to wrap this up because my wife cannot be trusted and she can't behave.
I couldn't be trusted when you started this thing.
It's true.
What has changed?
Ooh, I've seen the marshmallow gun, Lennon. There's also a potato gun, but that sounds much more painful. Peggy and I have beaten each other with pool noodles. That is some therapeutic beatings.
As long as you don't try and use it like a spear.
Yeah, if you just whack somebody with a pool noodle as hard as you can, they can barely feel it. I mean, don't do this only with consenting adults, please. But still, you beat somebody as hard as you can with a pool noodle, and you can swing super hard. And because of all the like pool noodliness of it, it doesn't hurt, and so it feels really therapeutic to beat your spouse with one of these pool noodles. Please, nobody take that out of context or click into this video at the wrong time. Okay, thank you. That is my wish to the YouTube gods. Okay. Anyway, I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up. I'm at an hour, almost 2 hours again. Yeah. I hope some of this would be useful in some way to some of you. If anything, I hope it piques your curiosity to look into anything that you might have been curious about or interested in. And next week, we're going to be talking about intention. So next week's chat is going to be intention. It'll be same day, same time, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. No Peggy's were hurt in Lisa's pool noodle frenzy. No Lisa's were hurt either, which is more important, I think.
I don't remember hitting you with a pool noodle.
Yeah, you hit me back with the pool noodle. We went at each other at the studio with the big full-length pool noodles. Yeah.
But I think I remember it was mostly you hitting me.
It was definitely mostly me hitting you, but that's beside the point.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I survived it.
Good. Peggy survived it. I didn't knock her down either. Yeah, I was good. All right, you guys.
Pool noodles are fun.
Pool noodles are fun. It's true. All right, we're going to wrap it up. I hope everybody has an amazing night or morning or day wherever you are.
That's okay. Cats are so fun.
Thank you so much to everybody who joined us. If this was your first live chat with me, then I'm sorry. We are often neurotic and crazy here, but I feel like we were in top form today. So check out some other ones. They may be more tame or not, depending. Yes, please do like. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell to get the notifications. It's really important. If you want to book a tarot reading with me, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.